Good morning. We are going to start with a prayer. Okay.
I'm even older than he is. You want me to take my picture, Peter?
Let's pray. Dear Father, we're thankful for this day, this Lord's Day, and for the many opportunities that we have through you. We're thankful for your grace, for your love that you have for us. We're thankful for this time that we can look at your word and look at opportunities that we all have as Christians. Thank you for being able to be a family, that we can look to you for grace, for stability, and know that through you that we will have a home with you in heaven. Father, we're thankful for the sacrifice that Jesus made for us, and that we pray that as we go through this week that we will be Christ-like, that we will talk to people about the blessings that we have through you. Father, we're thankful for this morning that we can talk about our mission trip. We're thankful for the safe trip that we had and the blessings that we received again through you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Thanks for braving the storm to come in for the Honduras presentation and Guatemala. It's interesting, back in 1998, Hurricane Mitch hit Central America, and that was really the starting point for some of the mission work in Honduras. When the mission team that went down, saw the devastation that took place because of Mitch, that really started up some of the activities that we now see continues to be in place 20 years later, 20 plus years. Okay, so this Honduras and Guatemala, we've gone to Puerto Rico. There's been some other mission trips that we've taken. They're all under the Torch missions. And Torch is really a program, a youth program, to introduce teens, high school kids, college kids to mission work. So Torch is actually an acronym, Training of Redeemed Christians, Heaven Bound. And it's really been, for the time that Mary and I have been involved with Torch Mission in Honduras, it's really just that. It's an opportunity for, not only for us as adults, but it's an opportunity for young adults to share a mission experience. And it's been pretty amazing over the time. Ethan went with me this year, but it's been Hunter and Connor and Maddie, and there's been some others and stuff that have gone with me. And every time you talk to them, they'll tell you what a great experience they had. And Ethan's going to get up today. I'm going to give you my perspective, and then Ethan's going to tell you his story as well. So it could be completely different, but Ethan will have an opportunity here pretty quick. So Torch really coordinates the short-term mission work, and it's over multiple countries. As you can see on the screen, it's really, we've been working in Honduras, Costa Rica, and Guatemala, but there's a couple other locations and stuff that Torch manages. So there were 16 congregations, churches, that participated in our 10-day mission trip this summer. And it's really not, so it's not about just this congregation, it's congregations from all over the United States and just from the world. So we have the team lead, which is Terry and Margaret Reeves, and they've been responsible for our week. It's usually around July 4th week, and they've taken on the responsibility, and they coordinate the activities for our time frame. and they do a great job. Brian Steffi is also a elder at Containing Church of Christ, and he's also has oversight for the work that Terry and Margaret do for our week. So we've got Brian and Terry and Margaret really taking the lead for the work. So with Brian, he's really involved as well. He just doesn't step back and just kind of watch things. He was actually in Honduras this year as well, so it's good to see him. Okay, so we had two. So Diane she went to Guatemala first, and then from Guatemala she went to Honduras. So she spent an extra week out and about, doing mission work. So it was interesting that she attended the Spanish immersion course for 5 days. So what I've learned is that when you talk to people in Honduras, it's so much about the culture. It's the culture of the people. They even have their own dialect in some ways for Spanish, that they have words that are unique to Hondurans. So when I saw this, it was like, you got the immersion. It was just so cool to be able to participate in something like that. So that was Diane, Terry, and Margaret, Robin, and I think that was it for the list. So during their time there in Guatemala, they really did a number of things. So it was an immersion class, but there was also some instruction that took place. They helped one of the local congregations that was started last year, and really helped them, kind of bring them up to speed, help them with leadership and some of the material and stuff that we sent them. Guatemala, especially Antigua, is beautiful. This is all from Diane. If you want details about the landscape, the food, go talk to Diane, because it is just amazing. Just when you walk there, there are mountains all around. There's some active volcanoes in the area as well. A lot of tourists and stuff visit Antigua, and it is just a nice place, beautiful place. So Jesus, Armando. Yeah, but what's the second one? Gracilius. So they were. Okay, he's one of the elders at Creekside. So they were really ones taking point to work with that local congregation. So just a great opportunity. All right, so Diane took this immersion class, all right? So they had a few, so obviously had some free time. And if you look at this screen, you see Diane pondering over the puzzle, right? But what do you notice about Scrabble, the Scrabble board? It's in Spanish. All right, it better have been a really good class for her. But look, what else do you see? What's on that little board, the wooden board right there? A couple letters? A few. But they're turned the opposite direction. So Diane is playing the game. Her letters are actually turned the other way. It's in Spanish. I'm not sure how well Diane actually did at this game, but she enjoyed the time together. I laughed when I saw this. It was like, okay. Okay, so let's talk about Honduras for a little bit. Guatemala, there's a lot that we've done in Guatemala. It's not the first trip that we've taken to Guatemala and Puerto Rico. So Diane, if you want to know more about Guatemala and maybe participating in that, Diane is the one you want to see. We really, I focused on Honduras, and the larger group is the one that goes to Honduras. So where is Honduras? So it is Central America. It's just south of Guatemala. It's Honduras is southeast of Guatemala, and it's north of Puerto Rico. When we fly there, it's like 2 hours from Miami, so it's a pretty short trip for us to get over to Guatemala. or to Honduras. While we were there, the last couple years, last time we went to Villa Gracia, which was another place which was on top of the mountain. And recently, Torch has purchased a different property, which is Santa Ana, and it's in Agua Viva, which is a really nice. So now we own the facility, and it's really the starting point for all the activities is out of the Santa Ana location now. All right, so I've been asked this many times, like, what is the day? What is a day like? So every night before, like after you eat dinner, right after that they come out with a list, right? And the list has many things that you can do and participate in. So like the first thing you do is when you're done eating, even sometimes you take your plate, you run over there and you sign up, because the last thing you want to do towards the end of the week is build another house. People are exhausted, right? So they want to get there quick, sign up for the one, because as soon as the other ones are signed up, you automatically sign up for another house build. So the activity sheet, we have breakfast, the breakfast and dinners in there is just awesome. Pineapple is just to die for. I mean, it's pretty good. We have a morning devotional, and so right after breakfast, we got a morning devotional. And those are every day. We actually have an evening devotional as well. And then once the devotional is done, everybody gets, that's signed up for the different activities. You go to the designated bus, and off you go. And it's a long, long day. So when you're done, you take an opportunity, take a nap. And that's what, I have one picture of like what people look like, when they start on the bus, and this is what, they look like on the way back from the trip. So it's pretty, it can be tiring. So dinner, devotional, and then there's some free times. For the old people, there is no free time. You finish, eat dinner, you go to bed, right? So for the young people, they have free time. They can do whatever they want. All right, so the picture, we're going to talk about house builds. I think I'm going to let Ethan jump in here, but just a quick. So this is the picture on the left is the bus, right? Everybody piles on the bus, and this is for a build. And you can see everybody's smiling. Everybody's about to have a good time. They're looking forward to the day and the work. And then from the previous picture, that's what you look like on the way back. You're just totally exhausted. The picture on the right is like, we drove up to the site, and it's like, wow, that's a lot of rocks. So I appreciate them taking all the time to move the rocks out of the way for the build site. Well, no, that was the build site. The rocks are the build site, are on the build site. So it's like one of those times when you get to them, you're just like, okay, this, you just got to handle it. Sometimes we've had to dig out the side of a mountain and prepare the area for a house build, but it's always new. So it was just kind of the ride, you're excited, and then the first shock is like, whoa, we got to do something right here. I will say, as you see these pictures, Honduras is beautiful. It is beautiful. You can see over the rocks and on the horizon, you can see the mountains popping up. So everywhere you go, you see mountains around Honduras. It's just a really pretty area. All right, I'm going to stop right here, and then I'm going to let Ethan jump up, and he can go through his presentation, and then I'm going to jump back in, finish things up with some of the other activities and stuff that we work on. So.
Good morning. So this is Honduras from a teenage perspective. So first off, I want to say I hope that I do a good job for you guys this morning. Just finished with a very busy 2 weeks, very busy. Me, Mason, and Gracie over there, we had a 2-week band camp. First week was from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and the second week was from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. So if I collapse up here, just ignore that. So this trip actually started out in March. breathing in here a little bit too much. Yeah, there we go. So this trip actually started out in March. Me, TJ, and Ryan over there, we had drove our bikes up to CVS to take my passport pictures. And then about 2 weeks after that, me and my dad went up to the post office in April and did my whole entire passport thing, all that stuff. That is a very, 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 very long process. Yeah, and then about 6 weeks later, I had got my actual passport, and I was all set to go. And yeah, and travel up there, we traveled from Tampa to Miami, as Mark said. That was a very short flight, and then we had about a 2 to 3 hour layover, and then we were in Honduras about 3 hours later. So, yeah. And I just want to thank everyone for the prayers and financial support. It really means a lot, and it stuck with me throughout the entire trip. So this was my room. I had 5 others as well as me. We were all teenagers, actually. There was no adults in the room, thank goodness. Yeah, you don't want to know the things that went on in there. Yeah, if anyone's curious, I stayed in the very back and on the bottom bunk, just in case anyone's curious. Yeah, so there was 6 of us. The oldest member was, let's see, I think it was 18 in the room, and then the rest it was from like 14. So, yeah, the dorm room, it was a dorm room. We had AC. Yeah, all the rooms had AC, and we had a bathroom right to the left side, and we were combined with another room, and then Mark and another room. There was 4 different dorm rooms. They had shared another bathroom, so yeah. So this was off to the first build. As you can see, we're starting to get packed up. All the white buckets are filled with tools. Each day you go on, there's 2 separate builds each day besides the weekend. And I tried to do a build each day, but Mark was like, oh no, you might need to take a break. So, but yeah, this is my first build anyways. And that's off to the first build on the right-hand side with all the cows and everything. And by the way, there is so many different animals that roam the street that you just don't see here. Yeah, cows was a big one, which is a weird animal to roam the streets. Yeah, there's also like dogs and other type of animals that I've never seen before. They were kind of scary, so I tried to stay away the best I could. So this was when we first had gotten to the first house build. As you can see on the left-hand side here, that was kind of the landscape that we were presented with as we got there, and all the wood was already at the site, and the site was already bought. So all we had to do was go there and build the house. And as you can see there, all the wood's kind of laid out. And when you first get there, you start to organize all the wood. And this first build took a very long time because we were trying to get back into the process of building again. So yeah, it was a very long process. Mark might be able to tell you about that. Yeah. And by the way, before I get into any of the building, Mark is an absolute animal at building. He is the most crazy guy I've ever seen build a house. It is insane. As you can see, I'm standing back taking pictures, and he's over here trying to measure and do all these things. It was crazy. But yeah, you can see we're starting to put the frame up about probably 2 hours later. And yeah, you can see some of my younger friends here. It's mostly a young crew that goes on these house builds. And yeah. And this is us finishing up the first house build, as you had seen. The family was very grateful. They actually had stuck around all like 8 hours and just kind of just sit there and just watch us build and appreciated every single second of it. So yeah. And you can see on the bottom right, that was kind of the finished project with all the landscaping in the back. Very pretty, very pretty. So this was actually Arlen Chapman's build. This was probably the most wet build, as you can see, my shoes, those were the cleanest they were by the time we left. Yeah, we tried to do anything we could to stay out of the mud, but there was no way of getting out of the mud. But yeah, we did our best, and this was actually a really good house build. We finished very, 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 very quickly. It was another beautiful landscaping area. There was kind of a rocky hill in the background, and yeah, it was very nice. The family also stuck around all 4 or 5 hours of this house build and stayed on their little mattresses, and also appreciated every single second of it. And they would come up and talk to you, and they would try to talk to me in Spanish. I'm not much of a Spanish guy, so it was kind of embarrassing when they asked for a nombre, and I'm like, what? So, you know, you just have to do your best, and yeah, you can ask around, and most people know what they're talking about. So like I was saying, this is Arlen Chapman's build. This is kind of the finished project of it. Yeah, it was also a very young crew that went on this as well. Me and my friends, we would all try to, you know, get on the same house build, and then this was a very quick house build. Yeah. So I want to say the next week we had done a dedication build for my grandparents, Joe and Pat Arnold. I'm sure some of you might have seen them roam around here. Yeah, Joe actually worked in Bowling Green for GM, and after he retired for that, him and his wife Pat, my grandma, they had went around to like royal churches, smaller churches, and kind of tried to like build them up and grow them. And yeah, and it was a very nice thing to do for them, and I'm glad that we were able to do it, and glad that people gave up their summer, not just for this house build itself, but just for all these house builds. And as you can see, the beautiful landscape on the bottom left-hand side, yeah, it was very beautiful up there. It was mostly a hike rather than a build. Yeah, I think it was like at least 10 minutes just to get up there, but it was very worth it once you got up there. And as you can see on the top right-hand side, that was the family that was there. They kind of stayed in a little hut on the side, and they were making us food, and they were very appreciative of the build. Yeah. Yeah, that whole entire family is going to be in that one house. So, yeah, but they end up making it work. So that's the good thing about this. This is also my grandparents' house build. You can see more of the landscaping area. We were pretty much on top of a hill, and you can see all the other mountains over you, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I just couldn't stop taking pictures and just like looking at God's creation. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And as you can see on the top right-hand side, this is kind of us finishing up the last part of my grandparents' house, putting up the last few walls. Yeah, this was also a very short house build, even though it had started raining on us, pouring actually. Most of the days it did end up pouring, but we still got it done and wanted to get these people's houses done. So, yeah, and they were done, and they had a roof over the head by the end of the day, and that was the best thing about that. So the rain did not matter to any of us. So the same friends that I had stayed in a room with, we all had became best friends, and some of them actually I had went to Bible camp up there at Florida Bible Camp in High Springs, Florida. So some of them go to Foundation Christian Academy, which is about an hour away from here. And yeah, I had realized a couple of them from there. And we had like a kid from Pennsylvania, Arkansas, and most of us were from Florida, Tennessee, and it was good to see and good to, you know, make friends with people that you have never seen before. And, you know, you never know who you might be friends with next month. It's kind of weird seeing and getting these friendships. And you didn't know these people a week before, and now you're best friends with them, and you're building houses with them. And like Mark was saying, when you go to sign up for these different house builds and projects, you know, handing out food, me and my friends would try to be the first ones up and get on the same house build. And sometimes that did not work out, but we tried to be the quickest that we could. So as Mark was saying, we had a morning and an evening devotional. The morning devotionals were usually kept very short just so we could get started with our days. And that's on the left-hand side. We tried to have them outside in this little area, but sometimes it was just rainy, like I had said. So we had to have them in these more of a building type area, which is okay. And then, as you can see on the right-hand side, on Sunday, we went to this Honduran church, and we kind of switched around between our guy that had taught us in English, and then another guy that had kind of talked in Spanish, and they kind of flipped around. And we also had translators there, so they could see what we were saying, and we could see what they're saying. So yeah, it was a very, very cool experience. And they actually had a decent youth group. They were all pretty much toddlers, and they were all so cute. And they would come up to you and talk. And I mean, obviously, toddlers, you don't know what they're saying anyway, so you just try your best. And on the weekend, after the 3 busy days of building house builds and the next 3 busy days after the weekend, we got to, go to the mall in Tegucigalpa and actually eat American food, which I think the American food there is better than it is here, which is strange enough, but, that's just how it is. As you can see, I got tacos. I don't know if that was really an American type thing, but but as you can see on the right-hand side, there was like a Pizza Hut, and there was like a Church's and all this stuff. So yeah, it was pretty nice. And then in the airport, I had Domino's. That was the best Domino's I've ever had in my entire life, by the way. And then as you can see on the left-hand side, this was kind of like a little store that they had let us go in. I think it was like a Monday or Tuesday of the next week, just because, you start to run out of snacks after each house build, and you just need more and more. And me and my friend, we had spent $800 of the Honduran money. I don't really know how much that is in American money. I didn't do the math, but that's a lot of money, just to say the least. I was very hungry, very hungry. And that's the end. I just want to thank everybody once again for the prayers and financial support. Thank you.
All right, this is a build in action. So this is a time lapse of the build. And it's a lot of people, I'm like El Jefe. I am the boss on the for the house builds. And yes. And interesting enough, because the dedication builds are so special, right? You're dedicating the house build to an individual. And on the bus, I always talk to the kids about, the young adults, about who we're building the house for, and I want them to do their very best. So one of the things that we do as part of the house build is sign a board saying, yes, I'm doing the best that I can on this house. And also when we talk to and do a dedication at the end for the family, we talk about that individual that was built for, so Arlen and Joe and Pat. We give them a Bible, and it's just a very special time. So yeah, it's just a really nice activity. It kind of brings everybody together. But the dedication bills are just awesome. So this is Diane. Diane was also in action. It's a little slow, but I'm talking to her as she's trying to drive this nail in. And this is what, as El Jefe, when I'm talking to these kids and stuff, it's like, hit the nail, hold the hammer at the end, not at the very beginning. So, yeah, I'm like harassing her the whole time. And then at the very end, she's like, I'm talking to her, I said, this is going on YouTube, right? So it's like, and that's when she started to laugh. So it's, Diane did not, she did not critique my presentation. So I said, hey, you're going to get what you get. So the slides stay in. I want to say for the dedication build, again, for Arlen, it was very special. One of the things that I was able to do is, at the end of the day, I went and talked to everybody. It's like, you don't know and realize how special it is to do a dedication build for an individual. It really brings closure, but it's just an awesome experience that you can dedicate a house, in this case, a home, for an individual, and that's going to last a lifetime. All the houses that we have built over the 20 years, there's only one that doesn't exist anymore. So we've built hundreds of houses, and it's just a great experience. So the families in this house, if you to describe the house, it's a 16 by 16 square, one window, one door, that's it. But they are so happy, the family are so happy to have a house, a roof, and just a dry place to be.
I just want to interject how they choose who gets the house. I don't know where you go.
So Diane's talking about how they're selected. First of all, the person that's the house is being dedicated to, they have to buy the land. So they own the land, and sometimes it's donated to them, but they must own it, and then we come in and provide the supplies and stuff and actually build the house. And sometimes there's a drawing, in a sense, where people, because they don't want to just pick houses or individual, they want to be biased, so they'll actually do a drawing for an individual to get the house as well. So it's very thing.
Yeah, they put up their names in a hat or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you hear Diane? They actually, sometimes for the drawings, they'll put the names in a hat. They'll pray before they actually select a name out of the hat. And then it's just a very special thing for them to have, to be able to own a home. So this is a family I jumped in. The families, 16 by 16 room, and a lot of the families are extended families that they're going to live in that house. So 6 to 8 people. In a 16 by 16, no running water, no bathrooms in these houses, those are still, outside type thing. But it's a home. It's very special. So there's a lot more that goes on than just house building. Even though they're very special, there's food distributions, and they did Bible distributions as well. So a group will go out, they'll fill up a bus full of food with bags, and we'll go to an area, and we'll do food distribution. And it's the same thing for the Bible. I said for the house dedications, we also gave them a Bible at that point, but we distributed Bibles to different areas.
Are you distributing Spanish Bibles?
These are in Spanish, yes. They're in Spanish. I'll tell you this, I'll jump in. I thought I did the greatest job. We're at the mall, and I walked up to the counter, and I ordered in Spanish. And it's like, yeah, all right. So she understood. She took my order and stuff. And then she said, el credito. I say, what? I was in the wrong line. So, I had cash, and she wanted my credit card. It's like, no, it was like the perfect order. In Spanish. And I had to get out of that line, get into the next one, and I ordered the same thing. But I really did a great job the first time through. Hospital and orphanages. So we did multiple visits. One of the special places is Tedesco. I'll talk about that if I have time, about actually how we found Tedesco. But there was also the Children's Hospital that we visited, and a special needs orphanage, right? Stand up for a second. So, turn around. So I want Ethan to talk about the special needs orphanage experience there.
Okay, there we go. So, I'm not for sure how many kids were there. I would say about 10 to 12 maybe. And right as soon as we got there, they were all kind of in a line, and we were able to take them outside and walk them and, kind of just give them they never really were able to do. And they don't have as many workers there, so they all can't really focus on them at one time. So when we got there, they were all really happy to see us, and they actually invited us back the next day, to be able to do the same thing with them again. But yeah, it was a very cool experience to be able to, witness that, especially there. I mean, you see that here as well, but especially there, it's just totally different. But it was a very well put together place. You might think it was kind of, trashy, but it was a very put together place, and they really cared about the kids that were there. And I didn't really get to see like their rooms or anything, but I'm sure they all had their little different rooms. And yeah, once again, they were just very excited to be able to see, more than 2 or 3 people there, and them not be able to all get attention. But this time, when we're all there, I'll be able to get them attention.
So what's special about the special needs is mental and physical handicaps. And basically, when they get dropped off at the orphanage, family doesn't have anything to do with them. I mean, they're just abandoned. So for us to be able to go and spend that time with them is special too. They just, they love the attention and the support they get. So just a great opportunity. When I say you had to do different things, I didn't want to do house builds all the time because there's other great experiences that you can have. So I forced them. And another funny thing, and I told Craig this, I'm not sure I told Ethan, I said, if you don't go out and make some friends, I'm going to talk to every girl in this group and have them come up to you. You get more attention. So he found some friends pretty quick after I told him that he was going to get a lot of attention from all the girls that were there. Hey. So in this picture is Jorge, Rosa, and Michelle. They're the ones that run Didasco, and they've been doing that for, we've been involved with them for 20 plus years supporting Didasco, and Didasco is an orphanage as well. Off to the right, it used to be called the Green Jungle, and it was green, and those kids just wear that thing apart. I saw a bolt, an eye bolt that was wore through from the kids swinging so much on it in 1 year. Wore down an eye bolt, which is just crazy to think of. So Terry went to Jorge, he said, is there anything special that we can do for you? He says, we really like color. Color. And Terry's like, so they wanted their playground to have some color to it. Now it's just not green. Now it's yellow and red, all those kind of cool colors. So yeah, they like colors. They love that playground. It's just it's amazing. And Jorge and Rosa do an awesome job running that orphanage. They just do an amazing job. I could talk all day about Didasco. So Mi Esperanza and R1T1, these are 2 different programs. So Mark and Lori Connell on the left-hand side. Lori started Mi Esperanza. It's a program for women to train them skills, life skills, train them how to do a job, to make money. In Honduras, women are treated as second-class citizens. They don't really get respect like you do here in the U.S. Lori, back when Hurricane Mitch, that's when she was visited to do intermission work, and she saw how devastated that area was, but also how poorly the women were treated. So she started Mi Esperanza, which was a program for women to teach them skills that they could go back and earn money for their family. And it's the mothers that provide for the children, not the fathers. So it's really a key thing for the women to be able to earn money, because then it helps with ongoing just knowledge and training for the family. R1T1 is reach one, teach one. I lost the R there for a second. Dalton Hines, if you see on the right, and my 4th of July shirt that you're commenting on right now. How cool is that, right? So Dalton started R1T1, and it's just the opposite. It's for men, so it's a men's training program. Same thing, training them skills. They have a facility now where they've got a nursery. They're growing tilapia. They've got this different garden that's going on, and they're really trying to be self-sufficient with it as well. It's the same thing. They're training men to have skills, but also to train men to be Christian men. So again, they don't really appreciate the women's stuff there. So He's teaching them what's the right way to live as a Christian. So it's just a great job that Lori and Mark and Dalton are doing. So we had worship services, Bible classes, devotionals. Like Diane was involved in the ladies' class that went on basically every day. The devotionals at night were intense. The guy, Don, man, he was sweating up there. He was, spreading the word. So it was a little hard to accept sometimes after a full day's work, but he did a great job. So Brandon and Don were doing both the devotionals. It's a great opportunity, right? When you look at the program, it's a full program, start up to start down. It's really meant to encourage young adults to be able to do mission work, but to encourage them and to help them as well, just learn more about what it is to step out of your box. There were some medical clinics and eye clinics as well. So 200 plus, I think, for the medical clinic. I asked Josh, I said, well, how do you do the eyeglasses? And his response was, well, he just said, they're talking Spanish. Josh didn't speak Spanish, so he would give them a pair of glasses, and depending on the reaction, so if they're like, something like this, like, whoa, too strong, if they're still squinting, it's like, okay, give them something stronger. So it was this process. So eventually he saw the look in their face, and it's like, they kind of shook their head, yeah, that's the one. That's the pair of glasses that they got. So that's how they did. Craig, wherever Craig is, he could definitely handle that, right? All right, I just thought this was the coolest thing. So up in the left-hand corner, if your car is not big enough, you strap a basket to it. If you want a bigger trunk, you strap a basket to it. Of course. And then off to the right is what we call the Jesus statue on top of the mountain that looks over the whole, looks over the city, and they had the heart hands. That's also where the Jesus statue is. Well, people go there. It's a park for Hondurans. It's just a beautiful area. The Jesus statue, it has his arms out like this, welcoming people to Jesus. You can see that from all over Tegucigalpa. This is our group. So there were 100 people that attended this year. That's pretty good for a group. Usually we Terry tries to about 80 people, but it turned out to be 100. So I'll just give you some stats real quick. We're about to run out of time. So there were 11 states represented this year in the 100 people, 16 churches of Christ. The youngest was 3 years old, and the oldest was 78. Who would that be? Okay, oldest 78. Built 13 houses, 12 dedication houses, 3 food drops, which had like 755 bags of food, 2 hospital visits, 2 orphanage visits, did some work at Didasco, did the medical clinics, an eye clinic, 600 Bibles were distributed, 497 hygiene packs, and we had the devotionals and worship, and there were some murals and stuff, some work that was done at Aquaviva as well. So that was a lot of activities for a week and a half. All right, I'm going to go through, while I have time, I'm just going to go through new stuff for me. So I'm thinking, it's like, wow, what are some cool things that happened? Lego houses. So starting, they're experimenting with cement blocks that are built like Legos. So instead of doing wooden houses, they're going to do concrete houses, like Legos. And they're just Legos. They just stack on top. If you're familiar with Legos, they have the little round top on them, and we're just going to piece them together. They claim that that's going to be cheaper and will be more durable than the wood houses. So that's pretty cool. You always have to be, just for safety, people ask me, how safe is it? Like, we're always traveling as a group. There's always a guy with the girls in a group, no exception on that. One kid was standing next to the street by himself, and he got, talking to, because I guess sometimes the military will come by. If there's a kid standing on the side, they'll snatch him up and they'll become part of the military. And the family will get a note saying he's been signed up, right? So you just don't want to be, unless you want to be in the military, Honduran military. I mean, any age. That's kind of scary, right? So, house bills, we always take a frying pan with us, and it's like the most amazing thing when they get a frying pan. It's like, they won the lottery. The first time, I'm going to go one more minute. My first time. Here are my first time things. You can talk to me later about these. I was in the old person dorm. That was the first time for me. I was in the old person dorm. 60, you had to be 60 plus to be in this dorm. It's like, really? I'm in the 60. So, and then in that dorm, there were 6 of us. 3 of them got COVID. One had something going on with just 6, and the other one had allergies. And there was me. I survived the experience in the old guy dorm. All right. I rode the Barney bus, which is our new purple bus. That's cool. First time to build without Hondurans. Ethan was kind. The first build took all day. It was dark before we finished that house because Katie and I that were leading it, we had no help. It was all from memory, and it was brutal. So great first time experience for Ethan. We fly into a different airport now. The one in Tegucigalpa used to be like this, like you're taking your life into your hands and you try to land on this really short runway. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. Now they got a nice big airport, so didn't feel like life was being threatened flying in. First time I drove in Honduras. Yeah, and through the mountains. I'll tell you about that later. I drove a Bobcat. Cool. On my bucket list, everybody's always asked me what's my next big adventure. My next big adventure is going to be driving one of the little bitty taxi cabs in Honduras, which is like 2 wheels and one in the front. This little bitty like a golf cart thing. It's just like really cool. That's going to be one of my adventures. I'm going to drive through it. And to drive a motorcycle through Tegucigalpa. That would be thrilling. I did not get sick this year, because I learned not to put nails in my mouth when I build a house. If you drink the water, you get sick. If you have nails in your mouth that have been in bad water, you get sick. It took me a few years to kind of figure that one out. I'm a little slow, but I did. And I talked about ordering lunch successfully, which, when you get hungry, it's important. So it was good. Thank you very much for support. I could go on, like, last week, they handed me the mic. That was like the most dangerous thing that could happen. I was trying to hand the mic back. It almost didn't happen. I could talk for hours and stuff on what's going on. I do want to thank everybody for the support, the prayers that you gave. And really, we're looking at opportunities for other young adults to go in the future as well. So we'll be putting plans together on that. With that, thank you very much for braving the storm this morning and being part of Honduras. You can see it's an exciting time. A lot of things get accomplished. It's a life experience that you never forget. And I'm sure I can talk to Ethan about this 10 years from now. We'll talk about his first house build or the time that he spent the whole day on a bus because it broke down and he went to the wrong location, right?